We are officially on week 2 of Month of the Mythical. I don't know why that keeps happening. I think my editor finds it funny. Don't you edit your own videos? Yeah. Anyway, yeah. This week we have the epic Souza, the epic Nebulob, and the rare Hehehe. So let's start by talking about the newest member of the Pomaly. The epic Souza is the 13th member of the Pomaly, and the first one to be missing its arms. It is also the second Pomaly member not to really be a new color, continuing the trend created by rare Ruba, whose orange coloration is reminiscent of the color of the rare Souza. The epic Souza is dark pink in hue, which sort of backtracks on the original hot pink of the pom-pom. Seems like there's still a space for brown and gray members of the Pomaly, but those don't really seem exciting. Here's hoping for a turquoise one. At any rate, the bio of the epic Souza doesn't really reveal anything important. One thing I do want to mention, however, is that the bio calls its instrument a tetrahorn. Tetra means 4, but I only count 3 openings in the instrument. This might be an outright mistake in the bio of the epic Souza. And that's really the most interesting thing about this monster. I don't know. I'd rate this monster lower on a scale of 10. Maybe a 4 or 5. Not a lot going on. This monster, however, is completely awesome. I love its design, and I love its egg, which looks totally different to the others. Easily a 10 out of 10. The lore is incredible too. This is where we can really put on our detective caps and crunch some numbers regarding this rather rotund character. So, we can first start by looking at the bio of this epic, which states that this monster contains the same amount of liquid essence in its spacesuit as 70 times 70 common Nebulobs. That is 4,900 Nebulobs. I'm not sure of the reference here, because 7 is usually a biblical number, and the phrase 70 times 7 was used in the New Testament. But to put it in the description of the epic, I'm not really sure how it relates. At any rate, we have almost 5,000 Nebulobs crammed into one exosuit. Now, normally, we are taught that liquids cannot be compressed. This is why hydraulic systems are so effective. Despite the difficulty we have in compressing liquids, it is, in fact, possible. Imagine compressing a gas like squeezing a container of floating balls or molecules together. It's easy enough when there's enough space between them. For liquids, the balls are already all in contact. In order to compress them, enough force must be exerted to actually compress the material of the balls. In this case, we're changing the molecular shape of the liquid and how its electron cloud interacts with the other molecules. That's why it takes so much pressure. The force on the molecules is immense. For comparison, the bottom of the ocean, let's say 1 mile underwater, is under 150 atmospheres of pressure, or 150 times the normal amount water usually is compressed. Even with so much pressure on it from the water above, the water at the bottom of the ocean is only compressed 1%. And here we have the epic compressing 4,900 Nebulobs into one suit. That thing must be incredibly pressurized. Let's find out how much. According to the new Department of Monstrous Anomalies series on my Singing Monsters YouTube, the common Nebulob weighs around 285 pounds. We don't know if this is before or after the monster took its exosuit off, but for the benefit of the doubt, let's say the combined weight of the Nebulob body fluid and the mechanical suit is 285 pounds. If we use the moon landing Apollo spacesuit as a reference, it, along with its internal mechanics and life support systems, weighed 180 pounds, meaning that the biological component of the Nebulob could weigh around 100 pounds. Now this implies that the epic weighs around 245 tons, or as much as the Statue of Liberty, give or take 3 elephants and a Lincoln Continental. That may sound insane already, but things get a lot crazier. We can guesstimate from the trailer that the epic is 3.5 feet wide and around 6.5 feet tall. This means that it contains roughly 286 cubic feet of volume, solving for an ellipsoid shape and not counting the arms. Compared to the epic, the common only contains around 14.5 cubic feet. This volume is about equal to 108 gallons, and given the Nebulob's fluid weight of around 100 pounds, calculates to about 1 pound per gallon of biological fluid, whatever that stuff is. It's really lightweight. So this means that 490,000 pounds, and thus 490,000 gallons of Nebulob ooze are being compressed into an area of 2,139 gallons. That means for every gallon of Epic Nebulob exosuit volume, there is 229 gallons of common Nebulob ooze in it, and the exosuit is pressurized by 22,900% its normal amount in order to contain it all. We can also estimate the internal pressure of the liquid by comparing it to the known numbers related to water compressibility. Obviously, we have never compressed water to this extent, so the validity of this line of equations decreases with each calculation we perform. But, according to this chart relating PSI and water compressibility, not much is displayed past 16% compression. Through the power of interpolation, however, we can find out what we need to. Water can be compressed at a more efficient rate at the start of this chart. Then the trend begins to flatten out as we reach around 80 psi, at a rate of about 1% of compression for every 10,000 psi. A theoretical rate of 100% compression would be achieved through 940,000 psi. We multiply this by the Nebulob compression constant of 229 to reach the true psi inside of the Epic's exosuit. A whopping, let me read this right, 215 million 215,260,000 pounds per square inch. That is the equivalent of having one USS Abraham Lincoln for every square inch of your body. Now we can begin to understand why exactly the bio states that a failure of the Epic Nebulob's exosuit would initiate an event rivaling the magnitude of the Big Bang Theory. We can take our PSI value, convert it to pascals, then divide it by the cubic meter volume of the Epic Nebulob. We now have, oh my goodness, 183,349,932,000 pascals per meters cubed, which is a direct conversion with joules, meaning a rupturing of the Epic Nebulob suit would release the energy equivalent of 44 tons of TNT. This is the equivalent of the Russians' father of all bombs, which is the most powerful non-nuclear explosive in the world. Have a look at this. Needless to say, I will not be standing next to one anytime soon. Even though it does not add up to the explosion power mentioned in the bio, it still is powerful enough to put a sizable crater in the ground. And perhaps some of the math was lost in translation. After all, a lot of this math was theoretical. But then again, I doubt Big Blue Bubble went through the trouble of confirming the blast radius of the Epic using theoretical physics. After all, we had to calculate the volume of both the common and the Epic through trailer analysis, calculate the compression percentage per gallon of nebulobic fluid, compare it to the theoretical numbers derived from the hypercompression of water, convert its PSI value into pascals per cubic meter, convert that into joules, and then convert that into tons of TNT. It was worth it, though. Now for the final monster. This rare mythical continues the trend of recent rare monsters being pretty unique from their common counterparts. Rare Hehehe is another extension of the monsters family tree, which includes both of the mythicals and also, for whatever reason, the Plinkaju, which has been confirmed to be the Earth mythical's closest living relative. That is a rather interesting familial connection, given that the Hehehe family are living plushes. This could imply that the Plinkaju could be similar to stuffed animals biologically as well. To be fair, I thought that the Hehehe would be related to other fabric-esque monsters like the Whimsies and the Stretch Skin, but this presents an interesting split in the monster family tree. At any rate, the rare Hihehe is more susceptible to losing its lifeblood stitching and has thus developed adept sewing skills. It apparently also possesses the ability to disrupt the fabric of reality, although to what extent is unknown. The biggest thing I like about the rare Hihehe is the banana theming, but apart from the design and slight lore references in the bio, like the epic Souza, there just isn't a lot to talk about. I have heard, however, that there are some funny references in the random name pool of the rare, so I encourage y'all to read one up and discover some names for yourselves. All in all, this rare is pretty good design-wise. It's not packing much in the lore department, but the funny banana theming makes up for it. I'd give it a 7 out of 10. But that's about it for these 3 this week. Which one was your favorite? You know which one I'll stand behind. From 5,000 feet away. Anyway, that's everything. I'm Wiblix the Wubux, and thank you for watching the Creeptanium channel.